Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Daily Squeeze. Brian Farr here. Hope everyone had a great and wonderful weekend. We certainly did over here in my household. A bit rainy today, a little bit yucky out there, but whatever. We're sitting here making trades, making money. It's the same old, same old. But yeah, today stocks definitely ended mixed today with the Dow setting a new all-time high record, but yeah, tech took a little bit of a breather, a little bit of an early afternoon sell-off, and the markets didn't really recover after that. We also had the IWM small caps leading the way today, up 1.8%. SPY ended up flat on the day. Tomorrow we have CPI, the Consumer Price Index data for February. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride this week. We have the inflation data, we have jobless claims and retail sales due on Thursday. We do have plenty of earnings this week, no doubt about that, but all of the major movers are pretty much done, albeit for NVIDIA, who reports next week. So we got some interesting earnings this week, but not really anything that would technically move the market. We've had some Fed speakers, but they've all been saying the same thing, so nothing too crazy going on in that route. But the big thing is going to be the market's just waiting for that CPI, which is going to be the highlight of this week's economic data. So a little bit of a pause, and we'll see where things will go. But overall, a pretty sweet trading day nonetheless, despite the volatile moves today. Yields ended a little bit lower, 4.17 today. Bitcoin is having a nice move, up 4%, breaking out above the 50,000 level and 52-week high. So a big move today on Bitcoin, and we'll take a look at that. All in all, let's get into it. This is your Daily Squeeze. All right, let's just go ahead and jump into things here. Looking at the ES, this is my multi-time frame intraday grid. As you can see here within the 5-minute time frame, you can see that we were just kind of stuck in between about 50.38 and 50.48, so about a 10-point range for quite a bit. And we did get a nice little breakout, tight range this morning, and then around about 10 o'clock we had this nice little push to the upside, breaking out of that, only to have a little bit of a double top here, range, get back into another range at about 50.66 and 50.60 on the ES, but we eventually just kind of moved back on down to retest this 50.48 level, only to move lower, bear flag there, and then drop some more and bounce just a little bit for the ES to pretty much close flat on the day. You can see we started right here and closed about down here, so nothing too crazy, but pretty wild move. There was no news on the drop. I think we just kind of stalled out and people shoring things up before the inflation data. Nothing too crazy. A little bit weakness in bonds early in the session as well, while things were going. But overall, a pretty interesting day. We took SPX put credit spreads to start things out, as well as an AMD call that we'll take a look at in just a second. But right here, we took SPX put credit spreads and pretty much had really good timing on this breakout, and we took profits once we milked everything out. And then once things started to fall back and the signals took a turn for the worse, is when we switched gears here and took a call credit spread, which is a neutral bearish position where we sell the premium and take in some credit there, and we took the entire credit off of that. So that was a pretty sweet day today as far as SPX credit spreads go. As far as AMD, we took AMD was our first trade. It was a nice quick hit, but the signals were pretty solid here. We had a nice push on the 1-minute chart, which is what I was looking at. If I can zero in on this for just a brief moment. Here we go. So for AMD, Let me see. Let me grab that. Yeah, AMD, we took the 180 calls from $2.12 all the way to about $2.72. So it was a pretty nice trade here. And pretty much what we were looking at was we had this nice little push off the key moving averages. You can see that things popped off to the upside. You had this big break here on the trend, and we also had upward thrust signals across the board here, even on the 5-minute. So things were lined up pretty sweet on that trade, and we took those all the way up to 272, and then eventually got stopped out on our runners. But then she continued to run a little bit higher before falling with the rest of the market. So all in all, it was a pretty sweet day trade. Nothing too much of a headache there. Like I said, we also took some swings, some profits on our swing trades, such as Home Depot. Went ahead and short up that position. Glad I did. This one does have earnings next week. We do have a daily squeeze still in play, and trend still looks pretty good. Both trend and momentum. You need both. They all look pretty solid here, but with earnings coming up soon and with inflation data, I just went ahead and took those off the board. We also swung some IWM calls Friday, and we called a follow-through move here above the 199. My overall target was 205, but like I said, I wanted to shore up my accounts before the inflation, the CPI report coming in tomorrow, which I didn't highlight on this, but the CPI data is supposed to come in at 0.2% month over month, and we're anticipating that the inflation does still come in a little light, but we'll see. You know, we've had some pretty interesting reports so far, so we'll see what happens. I did end up taking some QQQ put debit spreads, and those were up pretty well. I am swinging those overnight, and we'll see if that pays out or doesn't, but so far it's looking pretty good. You got a nice little candle here, topping candle, nice little wick there on the daily time frame. So we'll see what shapes up here tomorrow for sure. Like I said, the big thing tomorrow is definitely going to be the key inflation data. One of the big news stories today, if we want to go over that, is Diamondback Energy, FANG, in a what was it, a $50 billion merge deal with a rival Endeavor Energy. So that's a pretty big transaction. Yeah, and that includes Endeavor's debt, and they were also looking to increase. FANG was looking to increase their dividends, so a pretty wild day for Diamondback Energy, as this one's starting to look pretty good. One of the names that I am keeping an eye on as far as setups goes, if we do start to progress further ahead, is I'm going to keep an eye on Marvell, or Marvel, however you want to pronounce it, Marvel. You got earnings coming up in early March, so we got a little bit of time here. We do have a new daily squeeze here. Trend looks pretty good, and we also have positive thrust. The only question is, you know, we're up here at about +3 ATR on the weekly. I would like to see this, you know, we might come back in and retest the 68 level and then shoot back up to 73.50, but there is an opportunity here to try to buy something here and try to push further up. So this is a pretty interesting setup that I am keeping an eye on, but I do want to get in front of these inflation prints as well as the retail sales. Let's see. We also had big lots. They were down about 28%, following a report from Bloomberg saying that they were seeking new financing deals and dwindling liquidity. So big lots taking a big, yeah, because their ticker symbol is big. So big lots taking a big hit today. They do have earnings coming up in a few weeks as well. Pretty crazy. It used to be trading at about $73. It's now down to about the $3 mark. So yeah, pretty nasty, brutal stuff there. Rivian Automotive also down about 2% on the day, off of a downgrade from Barclays. So yeah, some pretty interesting stuff today. Nothing too crazy. If we take a look at the big boys here with the grid, we can see that Apple down about 1%, Tesla still getting hit, down 2.8%. Nvidia closed relatively flat, but look at that, it was up to about almost 750. Ended up closing down to about the 720 mark. Lost a lot of traction there. Amazon pretty much down all day. AMD we discussed. Meta had a pretty interesting run at the beginning of the day, moved all the way up to about that 480 mark, and just slowly went down with the rest of the market. Yeah, from 480 all the way down to about 468. Microsoft also had a little bit of a tough day today. Pretty much sold off straight from the get-go, and then just never really recovered. You had a little bit of recovery there in the afternoon, or in the early afternoon, only to sell back off down to the lows about 414. So tech, general weakness there. IWM finishing strong, and small caps. We'll see what things have in store for us tomorrow as far as the inflation report. Let me pull that up just so I can have my numbers in check here, because I don't have them written down just yet. So we are expecting the CPI to be coming in at about 3.8%, the month over month to come in at 0.2%. So be on the lookout for that. That'll come in at 8:30 in the morning in the pre-market, and we'll be at it. All right, guys, this is Brian. Have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you guys in the morning. Bye.